I gave up that a few years ago. Can we turn it up? Thank you very much. Good morning, conference. And firstly, before we start anything, I must apologise on behalf of the team for the lack of seating last night and the time it took to be served at the bar. The centre was briefed on numerous occasions of the drinking requirements of the association. To this end, we've set up another bar, but it will be bottles only, so the purists among us who like the hand pump will have to use the main bar. But they do bottle beers, and that will be in the Willow Suite, which was your quiet room, but it'll now become a public bar. And we will confirm details and set up before tonight's festivities, and Kelly's already been down and chastised the bar manager, and we're already checking, and we've got stage checks through the day to make sure everything's okay for you. So once again, I apologise, conference. Right, down to the health and safety brief, which we've got to do. Good morning and welcome to Yarnfield for Conference 2017. So a few domestics I need to highlight to you. There are no planned fire alarms that you need to respond to. Anything that happens will be real and you must respond in an orderly manner and out to the conference centre by the fire exits and muster on the car park with the green sign. Hopefully you've read in your hotel room that if there is an issue at night, you're to come to the hotel reception. So I expect to see everybody in there at 2 o'clock in their gym jams. It's usually whiskey by then, Mr. Allison. Anybody requiring assistance, please notify a member of the ACC, association staff or the centre staff. We know there are some issues with walking and mobility, but please ask. The staff are easy to identify. They've got red lanyards. I'm easy to identify. I'm the ugly bald one, and you should know me by now. But please, please ask. Don't sit there and suffer in silence. It's very important in this day and age that you are security conscious at all times. In particular, don't leave briefcases, packages, anything unattended between the sessions. Should you notice anything suspicious, please bring it to the attention of a member of the association staff or the conference centre staff, but in no circumstances touch it. Because if you ask me to touch it, I'll be out the door first. Please take care when coming to the rostrum. As you might have noticed, there is only one rostrum, and I will explain that later in my report. But the steps are just to the right of me. If you feel you cannot come to the rostrum, we have roving mics in the hall, so please put your hand up and show the tellers who are around the hall that you would require a roving microphone. I hope you've all seen the marketplace. It's in the main area, you can't miss it. It's there with association staff and corporate partners, and there's numerous stalls, more than we've ever had. Hopefully you've seen them, but if you haven't, please go and visit. The nearest facilities on this level is just outside the door, next to the lifts. We have St John's here today, again at the back corner, hidden by the band at the moment, but they are there to provide us with first aid facilities for the weekend. If you need any further assistance, please come and see a member of staff. Hopefully you've all found the conference office. It's at Beach, next to reception on the ground floor, and it's manned from 8:30 each day until the end of conference for the day. Again, feel free at any time to wander in and ask if you need any information. There is an out-of-hours telephone on page 10 of your conference brochure. The ACC members on duty within the hall this afternoon, or this morning and this afternoon, are Mrs. Gail Evans and Mr. Tom Feely. They can be located over by the screen on the far side, and they'll be sat by Kelly. Please may I ask now that all mobiles are switched off and remain off at all times within the conference hall. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a good conference. I'll hand over to the band to entertain us until we start in roughly 10 minutes' time. Thank you.
I hate to be selfish and all that, but that's okay. It was just very close to me, Brian. Oh, has it? Oh, that's my family jewels gone then, isn't it? Radiation. That was just your test, Brian, wasn't it? It was your alertness test.
Conference. Delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this morning our distinguished guest is the Deputy Chaplain-in-Chief of the Royal Air Force, the Reverend Group Captain Tim Wright. He will be escorted to the platform by the President of the Association, Air Marshal Sir Dusty Miller, and the Secretary General, Mr Nick Bunting. Conference, will you now please rise to receive your guest?
March on the Association Standard for the Royal Air Forces Association. Standard bearer. Slow. March.
The scriptures tell us that because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassion never fails. They are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. As we stand, let us pray for this conference. O God, for as much as without thee we are not able to please thee, mercifully grant that thy blessing may rest upon this conference. And may thy Holy Spirit in all things direct and rule the hearts and minds of all our delegates here assembled, that their deliberations may be to the glory of thy great name and the good of your people. This we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Let us pray for the Royal Air Forces Association. O Lord God, the King and ruler of all, bless, we beseech thee, the Royal Air Forces Association, and look with thy gracious favour upon all the members thereof. Inspire them with thy Holy Spirit, and daily increase in them thy manifold gifts of grace. Direct them in their hopes and ideals. Give them the spirit of comradeship, and teach them the joy that lies in helping others, that by their faithful service and fellowship they may ever promote thy glory and the welfare of our fellow women and men. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So let us dedicate ourselves again to service of others. in friendship and in service to one another. We are pledged to keep alive the memory of those of all nations who died in the Royal Air Force and in the Air Forces of the Commonwealth. In their name, we give ourselves to the noble cause. Proudly and thankfully, we will remember them.
Standard party, outwards. Turn. Standard party, quick, march.
Right. Good morning, everybody.
Name, please. Could I have your
Sorry.
name?
Miller, President. That's President for Pres for short, but not for very much longer. You probably saw me while the video was running, keeping on flicking through my folder of notes. I live with this recurring nightmare, and trust me, it is a nightmare, that one day I'm going to arrive at this stage of the conference, and having put together this very carefully crafted sequence of actions over the next day and a half, that my best buddy Taff will have intervened at some stage when I've left my folder unguarded. And when I turn page 1, page 2 will be blank, all apart from a line at the top that says, "You're on your own, mate." So if you see me a bit OCD on the next page, then you'll understand why. Right, I really genuinely like to say how tremendous it is to see you all here today. It was great to see you yesterday and the few that arrived on Thursday as well. What are you grinning about, Taff? That's fine by me. We are actually joined today by a large number of other members of the association who are unable to be physically present here today and tomorrow, in that the entire conference, save the part when the Chief of the Air Staff speaks to us this afternoon, is being live streamed. So right now, there are a lot of our members who are sat at home, and they're actually going to be able to not join in the debate and the discussion we're going to have later this morning, but they can share some of the detail of what we're doing and certainly how the association is going to be going forward. And that's actually really important stuff. Remember last year we had a gathering at the mess at St Morgan, and people through an internet link were able to follow us, and they were shadow voting. Now their votes didn't count, but it gave me an idea to see how that process could work in the future. And we're actually now today going a lot wider than that. There's no shadow voting, but we're actually live streaming to as many people who wish to watch us on the internet. Again, so it's actually trying to take what the business is doing that a little bit wider. As I said, the only bit that won't be live streamed will be the Chief's presentation to us this afternoon. And again, that enhances the value of the privacy that we have in the Chief's trust and confidence. But we don't stick that out on the net because we don't want to see it on YouTube later this afternoon or tomorrow. That would be seriously bad. However, we've got a number of other very special people who've joined us in the conference today. First of all, there's the councillor, Councillor Jim Davis, who's the town mayor of Stone. He's with us today with his wife, the mayoress, Lynn Davis. You're very welcome. Jim is also the president and honorary treasurer of the Stone District branch of the association. He retired from a 28-year career in the RAF in 1995, and I'd like to thank him on your behalf for the very warm welcome that we've had from the local residents and the association here today. Thank you very much indeed, Jim. Please take our thanks back. Yesterday evening we had Colonel David Lee, who's a deputy lieutenant. He joined us for the reception in the evening, and he will join us again for the parade tomorrow. He's deputising for the Lord Lieutenant of Staffordshire, that's Ian Dudson. And tomorrow he will turn up in uniform and he will take the salute with a few others of us at the parade in the morning. And he will be helping me, or rather he'll be helping Councillor Jim to judge the smartest flight on parade. And that's very important. We're also very privileged to see Air Vice Marshal the Honourable David Murray with us today. And David, as you know, is the controller of the RAF Benevolent Fund. David, very warm welcome to you. And again, our two charities continue to work very closely together. And finally, last but by no means least, my brand new best buddy, Sir Baz North. Baz, you're very welcome. Great to see you here. Now, just to show you that we're not totally unresponsive, we've been collecting feedback from the first few hours of the conference, particularly the arrangements for getting into your accommodation and other bits and pieces last night. I know that Taff has already apologised for the bar arrangements. Kelly, I don't think, went to bed at all last night because she's been fixing some of the glitches. The bar arrangements will be changing. Hopefully you'll find it better tonight. Also, there were a number of grumbles yesterday that there were no newspapers available, and Kelly went out very early this morning and came out with a carload of newspapers. I think the local village shop couldn't believe its luck. It had sold out by 7 o'clock. So we've done that. And also, actually a genuinely serious issue. I know a lot of people struggle to get from the car park to their accommodation with their bags, particularly those who have any mobility issues. What we've done, what Kelly has done, she needs to take all the credit, nobody else, is on Sunday morning at 8:30, there will be 2 people at the foot of each of the blocks to help those who are genuinely unable to cope with their bags back to their cars. So that's stand fast, Mr. Bunting, you don't qualify. But it's a serious point. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. And again, hopefully that indicates to you the value of feedback. We are listening. Okay, if you've got problems, let us know. Some we can't fix, some we can. One we can't fix is a number of people have said, where's the promenade? Where's the ice cream? But I'm sure that if global warming continues, Yarnfield will have a beach fairly soon. But actually, it reminds me of a story of not quite, but talking of beaches. It was a tri-service briefing, and it was a briefing and some questions at the end, and the question came out to a mixed service community of, so what do you do if you find a scorpion in your tent? And the Royal Navy chap said, oh, I'd step on it. The Army chap, a little bit smarter, turned around and said, no, I'd stamp on it with my very big boot. A Royal Marine came forward and said, well, I'd capture the scorpion, break the sting off, then I'd eat it. And the Air Force chap said, well, actually, I'd phone room service and try to find out why there's a tent in my room. Well, it doesn't say you're on your own, mate, but it does say that I've now got to concentrate on business, because business is what we're here to do, and it's a fairly heavy morning. There are no breaks. However, if people feel the need to leave the room, please feel free to do so. There are exits at either end. If you're a delegate, do please remember to come back, because we need you to vote at various times. And I don't know how the air conditioning is going to work, or indeed if it does work, if it starts to get warm and stuffy in here, anybody who's wearing a jacket or a top coat, please feel able to relax and take it off, okay? Within the normal acceptable levels of decency, of course. I always stay garbed in my full uniform because you don't really want to sit and stare at my braces for the rest of the day. Anyway, onwards. Telegrams. The traditional telegrams were sent to Her Majesty as our patron, and to their Royal Highnesses Prince Philip and Prince Charles as former presidents. But you don't send me a telegram. The loyal greetings and their replies are actually on view in downstairs for you to inspect as you wish. I must admit, reading through this, I thought, why don't we send tweets to the Queen? Probably isn't very proper, but we still do it the old-fashioned way with telegrams. But they're there for your inspection. And I think that part of what we do is traditional, and it's incredibly important to do it and do it well. And so I'm pleased that we've done so again this year. Next up, we've got some training on handsets from TAF before we then formally get into conference business with his presentation as chairman of the ACC of his annual report. So without more ado, I shall hand over to TAF to give you some handset training. I know you're all wizards at it anyway, so it's just a refresher. TAF.
Yeah. Hello, ladies at the conference, ladies, gentlemen. Handset time. I know we didn't use them in the area conference this year, so it's been a year and we've all slept, so I thought a bit of refresher training might help. So the handset. Now, if you've got the handset and you've worn it like me, yeah, and you hold it up in front of you, that's the way we should be using it at all times through the conference. So when there's going to be a vote, you will see a voting icon in the top left corner of the big screen, not on your handset, on the big screens in front of you. There it goes. The icon will turn green when the system is ready to accept your responses from your keypad. So it won't do anything until it turns green. To cast your vote, you press the button that corresponds to the answer you wish to vote for. And for our votes, we will be using the top row, 1, 2, and 3. So if you hold it like that, you'll be able to see it quite easily, and the lights that we're going to talk about. When you press a button, an orange light will turn on and then off, up in that top corner. This light will flash green once when the system has accepted your vote, and only once. The light will then go out and stay out. The green light can sometimes take a few seconds to appear because it's a long way from your handset to the computer in the corner. Yeah, and it's all of you voting at once because I know you've all really got rapid responses, so it'll take a few seconds, so please be patient. Just to go over it again, before we have a little practice, wait for voting to open. Nothing will happen with your handset until it goes green on that top corner. Press the button on your handset to cast your vote. Light on the handset will turn orange, then flash green when the vote accepted. Voting closes once it goes from green back to grey. Results will be displayed on the big screen, as you'll see. So, shall we have a practice? Remember, wait for the voting icon to turn green before you press your buttons. Okay, how many steps are there on the stairs up to this conference room? Too many is not an answer? Okay. We will go into voting now, and we've gone green. I bet none of you counted. Okay, and that voting should now finish, and we should have the answers up. So everybody thought there was 36? I don't know, I couldn't be bothered to count. Okay, we'll have another practice. How long will our outgoing president remain at Yarnfield after conference closes on Sunday? 5 seconds, 10 minutes, 3 hours, or he might not make it to Sunday. Voting is now open. Goes green. You press your buttons. Green will flash on your handset. It is very quick. Oh, we're getting there. Responses are really rapid. Okay, and once voting is complete, we go back to grey, and let's see what everybody thinks. I rest my case. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was the rehearsal of the handsets. Pardon, Brian? It'll come up. When you see the voting screen, the information will be on the screen, that for, against, and abstain. All that information will be in front of you like you did in the practice. Okay then, if everybody's happy, Mr. President, I'll move on. We haven't got spare hands. We have got spare handsets, but that handset is registered to the delegate, so it needs to go and back be as a delegate. You need to pick it up. I think there's somebody on the desk if you would like to go down and pick it up. If you go and see the girls on the desk, they'll issue you with one. Not a problem. The girls will be there to look after you. You've got plenty of time. Don't run. I'll speak slowly.
Carry on, Taff.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, officers, Central Council, delegates and friends, Taff Rees, Chairman of your Annual Conference Committee, presented on behalf of the committee our report to Conference 2017. And again, may I also express a very warm welcome to you all at this year's venue at the Yarfield Conference Centre. The committee's formal report is printed on your conference brochure, 32 and 33. Para 12 of the report implies the acceptance of order of conference business and rules of procedures for conference as listed on 16 and 17 of your brochure. Delegates, once again, I'm not going to go through the report in detail. Hopefully, we've all read the report and taken note of the information. I will, however, take a few moments of your time to highlight a few points that I feel we need to be reminded of. Please note there are 9 resolutions, and one of these, resolution number 8, has been daggered by the ACC as it was debated last year's conference and will require a 2/3 majority to be accepted before we can discuss that resolution at this year's conference. This year, there will be one supplementary report which will be presented to yourselves after my initial report for your approval. I would ask that you remember to book in for every session and pick up your electronic voting handsets. Maybe I should have done that earlier. And from your respective area director of BSO, because without the handset, you will not be able to vote. And this is a dummy one, guys. I am not voting. There is clearly marked area, which is towards the front of the room for delegates to sit during conference business. Please use this area. It will help during the business session. You'll be able to see you all from the stage. There are roving microphones, which will be available for use around the area if delegates have difficulty getting to the rostrum. Please ensure that you notify the tellers that you need a microphone as soon as possible. There is the hearing loop in operation here. And a big point this year, as you might notice, there is only one rostrum in use this year, and access is from the side here. Please, when you come up and give all your details, like the President remembered to do, say whether you're speaking for or against the resolution. Again, I would take time to remind you about the use of RP5, amendment of the resolutions. If there's any changes in the wording of a resolution as per RP5, we need a bit of time to alter the slides on the screen. There will be a slight pause in proceedings, but I would ask for a bit of patience so we can get this done and get the right information. And you might see me and the President discussing and scribbling away so we get the right information on the screen for you. Delegates, I do encourage you to come towards the front prior to speaking to your resolution. I need to remind you again, because I promised somebody I'd remind you again, once at the rostrum, must clearly state their name and branch and whether you're speaking for or against the resolution prior to commencing your resolution, or somebody may rudely interrupt you. I wouldn't know who. Yes, so please say as well for and against. Delegates, please be on time when entering conference sessions. We have a full programme for this weekend and we don't want you to miss any of the business. The Annual Conference Committee is your committee. The committee has been elected to arrange and manage conference on your behalf. We really do hope that you enjoy this 2017 annual conference. And to this end, the team are on duty the whole weekend in case you need our help. ACC members are always available all weekend and during conference sessions. And whenever you bump into us, you can ask us any questions. Again, please enjoy your conference. Mr. Chairman, delegates, I move the adoption of the report of Annual Conference Committee for Conference 2017.
Thank you very much, Taff. May I have a seconder, please? No. Thank you, Titch. Right, we'll now move to a vote, please. And it's ready to vote now, please. Good. Well done, Taff. Thank you very much. That's been accepted. If you'd like to move on to the supplementary report, please.
Okay, supplementary report number 1, emergency resolution from York Branch. This conference resolves to continue alternating conference venues between North and South and return to Blackpool in May 2019. Mr. Chairman, delegates, I move the adoption of supplementary report 1.
Of course, we're not voting on that. We're just voting on adopting the supplementary report. Can I have a seconder, please? Jersey, thank you very much indeed, and we'll move straight to a vote. Good, thank you. That's accepted. What we will do is we will take the emergency resolution ahead of what is tabled as Resolution 7 in your conference brochure. so that we're discussing location for the 2019 conference in one group rather than getting it split up. But thank you very much for the clarity you've given us there. Right, settle down. It's on to the real business now. Now, last year, many of you will recall, again, it's one of my recurring nightmares, that we had 41 resolutions to get through. And you all very dutifully got through the vast majority, but not all. And I did promise you, and it was a sincere promise, that we would take the issues that you had put up as resolutions, we would take them back to council, we'd debate them, work the issues as well as we could, inform you of the outcome, and then if you were unhappy with the outcome that the council had decided, we would actually play them back again as resolutions this year, but without daggers, because we hadn't got the chance, got round to actually discussing them at all last year. We broadcast that information and we've had no pushback at all, and nobody has raised any of those resolutions again. Therefore, as far as the record is concerned, our business from last year was complete, albeit there was a chunk of it had to be completed its routine business after the conference. That actually brings me back to a really important point. When you have something on your mind that is worrying you that perhaps needs to be fixed, then do please get on and raise it through what you recognise as the chain of command. Because more often than not, things that are an enormous issue to you can be solved quite quickly and quite easily by resolute action, either with the headquarters staff or something through council. Whereas if you simply wait, let's say, for example, something occurs to you on Monday, which you're unhappy with. If you wait until next year to raise it as a resolution, it's going to be probably at least 2 years from when it occurs to you that anything actually happens to make it better. Whereas if you raise it straight away, it might be resolved, done and dusted within a matter of days or even weeks. So don't just store things up for resolutions. Actually, the resolution stuff should be for really strategic, cataclysmic issues. The rest of the stuff, routine business, because we've got the staff now and the employees in the volunteers in the structure actually to make things happen in relatively short time. So do please use that. Just one other thing as well, before we get into the actual detail of the resolutions, it's important to know for one resolution in particular that we have 118 delegates. Now, that is important simply because on a simple majority, which most of the resolutions require, we know when one number is bigger than another. But for one of the areas, I do need to find a 2/3 majority to remove the dagger, for example, on the later resolution. So that number is important. And that gives us a total voting strength of some 24,337. So those of you who are delegates, you're representing a lot of people. So wisdom, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I've mentioned the emergency resolution from Taft's report, and so we'll move straight into resolutions. Number one.
Just a simple point on last year's resolutions. Resolution 39. Sorry. Resolution 39 from last year, we submitted, which we are holding in abeyance while the information team carry on their investigations and continue the work on CRM. But we intend reintroducing this resolution at a later date, so it's only in abeyance. It hasn't been withdrawn or anything. We were holding it. That's resolution 39 from last year, which is marked up in here. It's just a slight correction on things as far as we're concerned anyway.
My statement still stands, and you are at liberty to bring forward any resolutions you wish in the future. But as I say, if it's normal business, let's get it conducted as normal business. And maybe we can have conferences in the future when the whole thing is a great big shindig and a bit of ceremonial. Wouldn't that be fun? Not sure if my brain cells will be able to stand that, but there we go. Anyway, serious business now, all joking aside. Into the resolutions. We don't have a lot, but some really serious material in there. First up, we've got a council resolution number 1, and I invite Dr. Brian Patterson, please, to come to the stage. Yes, you are.
Brian Pattison speaking on behalf of Central Council to resolution number 1, where you are asked to receive a presentation of the review of the standard area, branch and branch club regulations, which you've all got in your brochure, which has been set up by the review team subsequent to council, and this will provide you with an opportunity for questions and answers on factual aspects of the review at the end of the presentation. Chairman, I move resolution number 1.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? John Tisbury. Thank you very much, John. And we'll move straight to the vote, please. Thank you. Was that my vodka or yours? Oh, it's yours. Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm still looking for a seconder. I've been told that John can't because he's not a delegate. Apologies. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we will now move to a vote. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Right, just to be clear, we are now moving out of the formality of conference business. Routinely, when we're in conference business, then only delegates have the opportunity to speak. Because we've moved out of that, this is, and again, the intent is to make sure that everybody has all of their questions answered, so we get a much broader sense of clarity over what the council is proposing for the changes. So at the end of Dr. Patterson's presentation, anybody, and I encourage anybody who's got any questions or queries at all, please let's get them out and get them answered straight away. Then we'll go back into conference business to actually vote on a series of resolutions which will actually address the material that Brian Pattison will cover. Is everybody clear on that? Thank you. Please, the stage is yours.
Chairman, delegates, visitors, friends, I hope. Brian Pattison, speaking on behalf of Central Council to present the Governance Review Task Group report on the branch rules, area rules and branch club rules. The members of the task group are listed on here. The President, the Chairman of Council, Stu Colborne, Martin Watkins, the Northern Area Chairman, which is important since we were discussing area rules and regulations, Dick Whittingham, Nick Bunting, and Ken Clark, the immediate past South East and Eastern Area Director. What we did last year basically was to look at the UK legislation and regulations and amend the Royal Charter, the rules of the Association and its bylaws. The Royal Charter and the rules were submitted to the Privy Council following conference last year and were approved by Her Majesty in November 2016. Immediately after last year's conference, we then embarked onto looking at the standard area and branch regulations as well as the standard branch club rules. And together with these previous other documents approved last year, they will form the governance documents of the association. In bringing up the current rules for the branches and areas and clubs, we've taken into account things which were put into the Charter and the rules and bylaws last year. And of course then this is going to meet, we hope, will meet the needs of the association beyond the year 2020. We've taken current charity and other legislation into account. We've tried to resolve anomalies and ambiguities in the current regulations, because there are some. And we hope that we're providing a straightforward document which can be easily understood and used by branch committees and, in fact, by members themselves. This is probably not so easy to see on the screen. Oh, it's not too bad. It was a tortuous route. We started back in 2014, 2015 conference, the 2016 conference, and then we went to the Privy Council for consultation and Her Majesty to approve everything. But immediately after 2016 conference, we started again to look at the area branch rules and club rules. So we took legal guidance to kick off with, and then we went into council consultation in November last year, followed by we then distributed things to the branches and to the members in November. We also went to the area councils in November and back to Central Council consultation in 2017. Again, at that stage, we also looked for legal guidance. Again, following the February Council meeting, we went to branch and member consultation and to the area conferences in March. Again, final council consultation at our April meeting, and the final delegate packs, which you all have, were issued. And now we're here today at Annual Conference 2017. What are the main changes? We've simplified the wording. We've removed duplication, because there was a lot of duplication in the old rules. We've gone gender neutral, hopefully user friendly. We're reflecting general legislation as we know it today, and we hope we're using best practice. One of the things which came out during the review was the fact that the Charity Commission wishes that all branches should be registered with the Charity Commission. Now, this policy, some people thought it was new, has in fact been in the handbook since the year dot. And you'll find it in Chapter 2, Paras 2.3 and 2.4 in the Admin Handbook. And following consultation with the Charity Commission, with Oscar and the Charity Commission in Northern Ireland, the task group therefore came to the conclusion that rather than incorporating this change into the area or into the branch rules, it would be far better to introduce it as an amendment to Bylaw 18, which covers the formation of branches. And it also covers the charitable status of the branches, and therefore incorporate that into our bylaws, this long-standing policy. And the Charity Commission actually requests that all branches who use the Royal Charter as their charitable status in England and Wales should be registered with the Charity Commission, in Scotland with Oscar, and in Northern Ireland with the Northern Ireland, Section 1767 of the Charities Act Northern Ireland 2008. For branches outside the United Kingdom, they should consult the local authorities. If you've got any problems, contact your area office. Concerning the branch club regulations, we did not feel competent to look at that. And therefore we consulted the association's legal advisors, who put a lot of work into that, and we believe has come up with a sound document. This document was then looked at by the area directors because they have particular interest in branch clubs. They come under their area, and finally was submitted to council for its comments, which we accepted, of course. Because of the nature of these legal requirements on the operation of branch clubs, we propose that a single resolution to adopt the revisions to the branch club regulations would be sufficient. Area and branch regulations have been brought into line with the layout and style which we used last year. So from the point of view of looking at them, reading them, you shouldn't see any difference, at least in the layout. And we believe that the regulations reflect the policy of the recently introduced new rules and bylaws from last year. Things we brought in from them into the area and branch rules. A number of matters have been clarified, and in your document there is a commentary introducing each section. A bone of contention: the regulations include some matters relating to associate members. In view of the fact that several branches in the United Kingdom in the last 18 months or so have transferred all their branch associates to be full associates, we felt it was necessary to remove the branch associate category from the branch regulations, again reflecting the current practice used by many of the branches to convert their branch associates to full associates. One of the things which I insisted on right from the beginning, back in 2014-15, was that when we put out a consultative document, we should show the original and the new. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you see what was the original. On the right-hand side of the screen, that is the new branch regulation. Let's call it 11 because the original was 11. And you see it's much more concise and easier to read and understand. What I should emphasize also is that if we adopt today the branch regulations as in the brochure, this will not affect the consideration of the St Neots resolution number 6. So number 6 will still be taken, but after the adoption. It won't affect any discussion. The devil's in the detail. Regulations and rules, very complicated, not easy. It's easy to produce minor errors, hopefully avoided. But I'll just go back. If you turn to page, I'll find it. Page 12, Area Regulation 7. Almost at the bottom is bracket 8. In that you'll find that it says that the members will be elected, the area chairman and vice chairman will be elected for a period of 2 years at the first meeting, etc. That is a mistake, which we discovered a few days ago. It should be 3 years. Because in the following section, number 10 at the bottom of the page, there it quite clearly says 3 years. So yes, devil's in the detail, we've made a mistake.
So 10 is correct.
10 is correct, 8 should be 3 years. Thank you very much for everybody who sent feedback on the proposals, from individual members, from branches, from the areas, even from Central Council. They've kept us to task, particularly on the problems of devolved administration. the people up in Scotland and in Northern Ireland. But you've helped us all to ensure the legislative references stand the test of time. The way in which we will be going forward now will be that Resolution 1's already been dealt with. Resolution 2 will amend Bylaw 18, adding paragraph 2 to incorporate the Association's policy on the formal government documents, and emphasise that this won't change the current charitable status of any branch. Resolution 3 will enable the amendment of the area regulations, bringing them up to date, simplifying them, and reflecting the decisions of past conferences. 4, the same thing for the branch regulations, up-to-date simplification, past conferences. Resolution 5 will amend the standard branch club regulations, helped enormously by our legal advisors, so reflecting the changes in legislation, and particularly concerning licensing. Bring them up to date and hopefully simplify them. And finally, thank you.
Thank you much, Brian. Before we launch into questions or points of clarification, there are 2 branches have failed so far to pick up their handsets. One is my mate, the Armourers. Where are you guys? If you can go and get your handset, please, and also the Dartford branch. Theirs is still waiting to be collected. Okay, take the chance for questions to go and do it. We will get on with the votes without you. Sorry, public humiliation, but there you go. Sorry, you can tough it out. You've had lots of practice. Right, okay, the floor's open for questions. And remember, not just the delegates, anybody can ask for points of clarification. The floor's yours.
Mr. Chairman,
John,
may I ask for clarification on...
just a moment, please.
May I ask for clarification on one point, please? To do with the branch club regulations. For branch regulations, you've said you've taken into consideration various resolutions were put forward on a number of years, including 2014. You haven't said that for the branch club regulations. But in 2014, the Aylesbury and Halton branch put forward a resolution saying that branch associates for clubs should disappear, if you like, and it should only be full associate members. However, that was defeated by conference, and I fail to understand why it is now in the proposed regulations that associate members must be full associates. And you have used the word full associates in the schedules and in the standard rules. I wonder, please, Dr. Patterson, if you could explain that.
First of all, are you sure it was Aylesbury and Halton and not Aylesford and Marlin who did that? Anyway, that's debatable. That doesn't matter, John.
It was resolution number 6 of 2014.
Thank you. Okay. If we've not mentioned 2014 in the on the slide there, then I think that was probably an error. However, the point is that branch clubs, including your own, have converted all your branch associates into associates. I use the word full associates in order to emphasise the difference. And therefore, I think it was you can consider that by referring to branch associates at the branch level, it should also include those at branch club level. I don't know if Nick, you want to say anything?
Mr. Chairman, Nick Bunting, SecGen. The best practice and current practice that is happening across all of the areas is to convert branch club associates into full associates of the association, just as you said, Chair. This also reflects the changing nature of a number of branch clubs that have become drinking dens, where there is one or two full members in the branch, and then the branch club is used by people who are not part of the association and not there for the spirit of the association, and we're having a number of problems with local licensing authorities and other matters. And the area directors with many of the branches have done sterling work to convert those branch club associates into full associates of the association, which has helped us deal with many of the antisocial problems that we've been facing in a number of the branch clubs, and in some cases close the branch and then reform them as a phoenix branch, as it were, with a proper committee and a proper structure in place. And this approach has significantly assisted us in that matter.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, John.
Mike Smith from Cranwell. I'm somewhat confused. Can we have branch associates in a branch? I can accept the problems at clubs, but can we retain them? Because certainly as far as Cranwell is concerned, many of those, well, not many, but of our small working party, they are the ones that give tremendous support.
Your concerns are echoed by several other branches, and I think that if Conference approves the branch regulations as they are currently proposed, then we have the St Neots resolution number 6, where you can debate that, and if you are successful, would reverse the decision and bring branch associates back into the branch rules. Somebody right at the back there. The one who went for his birthday party.
Thank you. Good morning. Bob Shepherd, Vice President, South East and Eastern Area. Going into the area representation on Area Rule 8, subpara 1, it says that provided that the number of elected members shall not be less than 7, but no more than 9, unless authorised under Rule 5 or by annual conference. Now, South East Area has been given dispensation previously to have a greater number because of the size of the area. If we allow this to go through, would this then take away our authorisation?
Yes and no.
Thank you, Brian.
Your area is not the only one which has local variations. And the European area, for which I'm a member, also has a problem with that. And the proposed way forward is that immediately that the current area regulations are approved, then your area council should go into conclave and then request the local variation as it stands at the moment. I think you have 9 council members, yes. In the European area, we have a different way of electing the area council. And so we're going to go into conclave on Sunday afternoon. Well, not exactly. And we already know how we're going to go forward. So I hope, Bob, that answers your question.
Thank you, Brian.
Tom, I see you stand. Do you have a question? Oh, yes, you do. Good.
Yes, sir.
Tom.
We're going back to branch associates. Branch associates are an equal share in our branch trust. I don't see how you can put one branch against another as regards control of members in a branch club. I think this resolution is ill thought of and has not consideration for now as you look. Associate members form the biggest part of the association. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we do need branch associates. We convert as many branch associates as we can to full associates, and you'll see in my branch we now have well over 100 full associates, but we still have that vital part of 102 branch associates, and those branch associates are equal partners in our 5 set-up charity. So there's no way Tamworth can do away with branch associates, because that has been the law with the Charities Commission and with the licensing authorities right through since 1974. Sorry, Mr. Patterson, but I think you're out of order in doing away with branch associates.
Thank you, Tom. As I said earlier, in reply to the previous question, this is also echoed by many other branches, and I know I had a long telephone call a couple of weeks or so ago from Mid-Wales, who are also worried about this. So, as I said earlier, you do have the opportunity in discussing Resolution 6 by the St Neots branch to overturn, if you are successful, the proposal on the table.
Are there any other questions? And I do emphasise questions rather than counter statements.
Yes, I'd just like to say this is Barry Kindred, RAF Harrow. I entirely agree with the last person that said his point. But also on page 43, it's about the legislation, employment legislation. It mentions the fact of pensions, which is they've got down that the employers with 5 or more employees shall offer their employees access to a stakeholder pension scheme, which is not right anymore. It's incorrect. Anybody with 1 employee must give a stakeholder pension, and they cannot opt out. Only the employee can opt out after being enrolled. So I think that needs to be updated. Regulation number 18 in there.
That employers with 5 or more employees should offer their employees access to a stakeholder pension. I think that is probably correct. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on that, but what I read in the press was that you had to have a minimum number of employees before it was necessary. So if you only have 1 employee, I thought you did not have to do that. However, from the other point of view, this is clearly something which has come from our legal advisors. So
Mr. Bunting,
I would assume that they were correct.
Grab a microphone and add some clarity, please. Paul Baker's just eaten it.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Bunting, Secretary General. I think the delegate is correct, and I think we need to just review that. only because I know the auto-enrolment rules have changed this year, and it may just be something we've missed, Brian.
Okay, fine, thank you very much.
That's a very timely question. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Phil Snellgrove, Guernsey. As the font of all knowledge, and I appreciate the work you've done, and you did say the devil is in the detail, can you please explain to me, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would also like the explanation, one of the changing rules is each branch registers with the Charity Commission. Could you tell me the process, how much it's going to cost the branches and how much work's involved?
I personally can't answer that question, but I'm sure that Nick can.
Nick Bunting, Secretary General. It doesn't cost anything to register with the Charity Commission, and your area office will help you do any registration you need. And in many cases, most of the area officers already do all of the administration for many branches. So it's nil cost, it's quite low time to register a branch, and you basically submit your annual returns electronically, which the area officers can help with. And certainly many of the area officers do that on behalf of many branches.
Thank you, Nick.
Anne Higgs from the Aphrodite branch in Cyprus. In response to that question, we looked into registering the Aphrodite branch, and we consulted with the British Legion in Cyprus, who tried to do this, and the cost in Cyprus was prohibitive because you have to get it translated into Cypriot. And that costs 60 euros per page. For the British Legion, it would have cost them 10,000 euros. And just for the translation, not for any of the legal requirements. And unfortunately, a few weeks ago, the British Legion folded. And we have real concerns in Cyprus over doing it because our branch certainly couldn't afford that sort of money.
But in Cyprus, have you looked into the legalities as to whether or not you need to register? Because in Switzerland we have done that, and we came to the conclusion that we do not have to register. So you have.
In Cyprus, we hold the majority of our meetings at RAF Aquatiri. If we hold them on RAF Aquatiri, we don't need to do anything.
Yes.
But if we hold, for instance, our Battle of Britain Ball, which Sir Dusty attended last year and was a great success, it could have been, because we held a raffle, we could have been in trouble.
Right. Okay.
You know, anything on camp is fine. And there have been some charities who have been told they cannot hold things unless they get this status.
Yeah. Yes, well, as I said earlier, outside of the United Kingdom, you really got to look into the legal processes in your own country. And clearly in Cyprus, this is a problem, a financial problem. And this may well be a good opportunity to speak with the area director, who is holding the microphone that you've just released, and see how you can overcome the problems. I can't answer that one better than that.
I was about to add, this is not intended as a job creation scheme for the area director, but it's very, it is very clear from the, and again, it's the disparate nature of the regulatory framework you work in overseas. There is no big bright paintbrush which covers everything, and so it may well be that that it is an in-depth heart-to-heart with the area director to see what can be achieved and at what cost. And also what alternatives there might be. And again, for others, the area director will take up the... once you've been down a path once, it's a great deal simpler to go the other way. And certainly in England, then it is at no cost. But we'll work with you on that. Right, any last questions? Okay, as we move back into conference business then, everybody's got their handsets. We are 120. So without taking my shoes and socks off, I now can calculate the 2/3 majority we will need a little bit later on. And so we're back on business, and I'd like conference resolution number 2 on behalf of the council, Dr. Brian Patterson.
Chairman, delegates, visitors, Brian Patterson speaking on behalf of Central Council. You've heard the arguments in the presentation about the modification to Bylaw 18, whereby the Charity Commission requires all branches using the Royal Charter as their charitable status to register with the Charity Commission as individual charities, and that it wishes to see this policy enshrined in our governance documents. Of course, as I said earlier, branches in Scotland and Northern Ireland should register with OSCR and under the Section 167 of the Charities Act Northern Ireland 2008, respectively. Agreeing to this resolution will not affect the current charitable status of branches. Conference, I ask you to support this resolution.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please?
Help me up.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm ready to take views for and against from the single podium, please. Who wishes to come up to speak? Excellent, right. Business is done. We have no right to reply. We'll move straight to a vote. So handsets ready, please. It'll go green in a second. There we go. If you vote, please. All right, go ahead. So the vodka was okay, wasn't it? Good. These are double on shorts. How are we doing? It's slow electrons, John. Good, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. That one is carried. So congratulations, Brian. We'll move straight on then to resolution number 3 on behalf of the council, and the speaker again is Dr. Patterson.
Chairman, delegates, visitors, Brian Patterson yet again on behalf of Central Council, which asks you to amend the current standard area regulations and bring them up to date, reflecting decisions taken at previous conferences, and adopt them as the standard area regulations effective with the closure of this conference. Conference, I ask you to support this resolution. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Right, views for and against. The floor is open. Nobody moving. We'll go straight to a vote, please. Good, thank you very much indeed. That is carried. I've just had a message come in from some clever electronic means saying there are folks downstairs watching the conference via live streaming. And actually, the technology is working. So, hello everybody. Glad you're able to join us. No, that is seriously good. If you recall the way we did business 5 or 6 years ago, it was quite prehistoric almost. Actually, we are moving into the modern age. So, thank you for coming on this journey with me. I find it quite exciting that others of our membership are out there enjoying the conference, the people that were unable physically to get here. So great stuff. Don't switch off yet, people. We've got resolution number 4 coming. Brian, back to you, please.
Chairman, delegates, visitors, friends, Brian Patterson again, speaking on behalf of Central Council, which asks you to amend the current standard branch regulations to bring them up to date, reflecting the decisions mentioned earlier, and adopt them as the standard branch regulations effective with the closure of this conference. I should remind you yet again that resolution number 6 is still on the cards. Conference, I ask you to support this resolution.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. And any views for and against, please bear in mind we will debate the branch associates issue separately in the next but one resolution. Nobody speaking? Thank you. We shall move straight to the vote then, please. Okay, voting's open. Good, thank you very much indeed. So that's carried. And on to resolution number 5, and this is the final one from Dr. Brian Patterson on behalf of the Council. Brian, please carry on.
Brian Patterson again, on behalf of Council. The standard branch club regulations have been studied in depth by the Association's legal advisors and have been brought up to date, adopting current legislation, and if carried, these regulations will come into effect at the closure of this conference. Conference, on behalf of Central Council, I ask you to support this resolution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Can I have a seconder, please?
Okay.
Thank you. And views for and against, please. Nobody's moving. Thank you very much. We'll move straight to the vote, please. Thank you very much indeed, and many congratulations, Brian. That's 2 years of hard work, very nicely delivered. Thank you.
Chairman, delegates, visitors, it has been an enormous pleasure to chair this group. It's been hard work, but nevertheless most interesting. I would like to thank you all for your indulgence today, and for your questions, and for the errors which we have made in the things, which we looked at. I would also like to thank the members of the team, the staff, the area councils, the branches, and the individual members of the association for their input, their discussions and recommendations. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Right, now the bit you've all been waiting for. We have resolution number 6 on behalf of St Neots. So John comes up to the stage. Now, John, do you have a slide that you want displayed while you're speaking?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I think it's there. The floor is yours, John.
Yes, I also asked if the current Regulation 38 could also be shown, and it is. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Council, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, John Lee, St Neots Branch, proposing Resolution 6 that the Standard Branch Regulation authorising branches to recruit branch associates as supporters of the branch, currently Branch Regulation 38, should remain in existence and should not be deleted as proposed in the published amendments to Standard Branch Regulations set out in Resolution 4. Conference will be aware that previously any changes to policy, especially concerning membership, was by means of a formal resolution which allowed Conference to debate all the issues and matters concerning the proposal. My branch was surprised that one of the amendments to the Standard Branch Regulations was the deletion of Standard Branch Regulation 38. It is known that since its introduction, this regulation has been considered contentious by some members of Council and delegates. So it is surprising that this matter was not the subject of a formal resolution, which would have allowed Conference to fully debate the matter. That said, Council's task group have outlined their reasons for recommending the removal of the regulation in their summary. However, this ignores the reasons why Conference initially approved the regulation. In 1995, Conference approved a Council resolution which widened the definition of associate membership, which up to then had only referred to the spouses and children of full members. Other supporters of the association who were not eligible for full membership were known as friend members. Accordingly, the new definition of associates covered all those not eligible for full membership. Over the following 5 years, discussions took place concerning the administration of associate members, culminating in a council paper setting out how this should be achieved. The Lewis branch tabled Resolution 9 of 2000, proposing a new category of branch associates, and this was approved by Conference. The reasons for this are as valid today as they were then. We all have supporters who are more than pleased to assist the branch by attending events, helping in fundraising, including participating in the street collections for Wings Appeal, but for their own reasons do not want to join the association, as a full associate member. Some are part of a full member's family. Others already belong to other associations, for example, the Royal British Legion, the Royal Naval Association, or other ex-service organisations. Whilst we should encourage all supporters to become full associate members, we should respect their reasons if they do not wish to do so, and certainly must not tell them that their help is no longer required. My branch is not blind to the fact that many branches with clubs rely on their branch associates to ensure that the club is financially viable. Isn't that a further reason for keeping this category of membership open? Does the association want to see more clubs close? The St Neots branch is firmly of the opinion that the Standard Branch Regulation authorising branches to recruit branch associates as supporters of the branch should remain in existence, and I ask Conference to approve this resolution. May I also recommend to Council that they submit formal resolutions to change policy in future, and do not do so by including such matters which have previously not been discussed in a list of amendments. Thank you, Conference.
Thank you, John. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Basingstoke. And can we have views for and against, please? Hello, Tom. It's good to see you. And even if you said you weren't going to talk, I don't actually think I would have believed you.
Tom Phillips, Thomas Branch. I have to get up and talk because I 100% back the St Neots Branch resolution. Clubs are not what our association central council want to talk to us because as drinking dens, we're an equal, probably putting a lot of money into the association in supporting it. And branch associates are just as much part of this family as in our branch as the rest of them. I started in this organisation in 1974. I was a friend member. Yeah. But till 1998, I weren't even allowed to open my mouth, suggest anything, or do anything because I was a friend member. It makes you wonder what this association is here for. I'm sorry, but I have to say that it's quite nice to see that the largest part of this association membership are now, like me, full associates. And we're here not to take over the association, not to do anything else other than support what this organisation is trying to do, look after the welfare of serving and ex-serving RAF personnel and their family. And doing away with branch associates just because our central council thinks they are drinking dens is the worst thing this association can do. If you close the clubs, you're going to lose half your branches. Ladies and gentlemen, please support this resolution to the full. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Well, there's nothing like sitting on the fence. That was nothing like sitting on the fence.
Graham Ulster, Grimsby and Cleethorpes branch. I'm not sure I can follow that. I certainly can't be as passionate, and what an excellent speech. I absolutely respect what we're talking about here. I'm actually against this. I would like us to continue down a path that we've been going down for some time now. Ideally, I'd like to see all the branch associates converted into full associates, and that's something we've all been doing for some time now. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about people who actually don't want to be members of this association. It costs £8.50 to join. Now, the branches are taking £5, for instance. My biggest issue, or our biggest issue at our branches, it would be financially beneficial to us to convert all of our full associates back to branch associates, because I would get, I know it's not all, it is about money, but to our branch and to a lot of branches, it would be financially beneficial to have more branch associates than full associates, because we get £2.70 back for each in rebate for each full associate, but I could say take £5 off of all my branch associates. And I think it's a bit potentially chaotic. I could then, for my branch, that would give us about £1,000 a year. I could then go back to the association and say, can I have a branch match, please, for the associate for the £1,000 that I've raised? I could possibly get that. That would give me £2,000. I could then go back to this organisation and say, can I have a helping hand grant, please, for another £1,500? I'm £3,500 up, and the association has lost, or the full association has lost 400 members. Surely, we've had lots, John Cliff gave us a very, very good presentation at Area about the importance of members and the importance of getting everybody on board, and this is not getting everybody on board. So I absolutely understand, but we're not telling people that their services are no longer required. What we're telling people is join the big club rather than lots of little clubs. The big club is our association. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak? Podium's here. Make your way to the front, please, if you wish to speak, and then when the podium's clear, come on in.
Barry Kindred, Harrow District Branch. I'd like to vote for this resolution. We have a club, which is the nearest club to the Battle of Britain, to the nearest museum, to Harrow, the RAF Museum. And so it's important that we keep our club going, and the help that we get from the branch associates is very valuable. The last 3 years we've been flooded. We've had flash floods and the place has been devastated. But due to the help we've got from the branch associates who come in and just given their time and not said anything about it, didn't ask for money, nothing, we've been able to get back on our feet and open up with the same evening as with the flash flood during the morning. So I think we'll lose a great deal if we get rid of this and we just have full associates. I'm all for full associates. I'm not against it at all. I think it's the right thing to do and we should encourage them. But if for whatever reason, there's different reasons why people don't want to be full associates, I'd like to say we'd like to keep the branch associates if possible. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul, please.
Paul Branson, Mid-Somerset branch, where we do have floods. Very simply, we don't want, as the speaker said before last, to concentrate on the finance side of it, about money coming in. We always want money coming in and we want to improve it because we can do more for the disadvantaged if we have more money. But do not forget, it's a person connection with us. We enjoy new people coming in and just being there to enjoy us and what we aim to do. It's a very social setup. In Mid-Somerset, we find that I'm sure I could register, if I had one of these, a vote, and 100% of people that come along will say they enjoy it. They go away with a smile on their face. We don't want to just concentrate on money. Please, we've got to encourage people rather than just look at the finance side. Simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Phil Snellgrove, Guernsey. I'm for this resolution. I agree with what has been said on both sides in some ways. However, if one looks at branch associates, yes, they pay less, but to change this has a financial implication for both RAFA itself and for the branches and the clubs. And in the end, everything boils down to money. That said, I will try and avoid that particular subject. To actually get away from something that was said about clubs as drinking clubs. One, if clubs are breaking the rules, someone should have gone down and seen them. It should not, as seems very prevalent today, use a brush and sweep everyone under the table because one or two bad things have happened. In the case of one club I know, 1066 Club in Bexhill. Strangely, last year it won the Camera Award, Campaign for Real Ale. From 28,000 clubs, not only military, ex-military in the UK, that little club won the award. It has a lot of visitors, and it doesn't have the law involved in fights and drunken God knows what. Now, if you can't have a good fight with a real ale drinker, I don't know who you can fight with. When you look at the branch associates as themselves, they all have their own reasons, as has been said before, as to why they don't want to be other than branch associates. It doesn't mean that they're not willing to help. And in that respect, if you look at Wings Appeal, we have branch associates going out collecting. If you look at maintenance that's needed on buildings for those, and it especially affects those branches with clubs, you've got tradesmen who will come and provide their labour and work on the club, or actually provide other things at no cost at all, other than maybe the materials. So they do not just come along and say, oh, I don't want to pay this or that. They are the lifeblood, in some cases, of some clubs. They also help in collecting for Wings. They also collect and do other functions. We've got musicians who provide free entertainment. So in the end, if you get rid of the branch associates and they decide that they're not going to pay to be a full associate, and I would say that the policy is to try and convert them, and I believe most of the branches are trying to do that, but you can't persuade every one of them. So if you turn around and say, well, tough, you either pay up and be a full associate or you leave, that brings into question the financial viability of not only the branches, but the clubs. And if the long-term future of the Royal Air Force Association is to be looked after, do we really want to close branches and clubs because we're getting rid of one set of membership?
Before we get into another aspect of the subject, can I say thank you very much for your position. You're against the resolution.
I was going to say,
but you're out of time.
I'm for the resolution, and I ask you to vote for Resolution 6.
Is there anybody else? Come on in.
Graham Grice, Aylesford and Morning Branch. Mr. Chairman, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to speak for this resolution, and I have sympathies with both sides of the argument, as did the previous speaker. I also have sympathy with the argument that the branch needs, through its process of governance, to control those that are coming into its club. So to say that clubs are turning into drinking dens, then it's probably the fault of the governance of the branch. And it is the responsibility of the association to make sure that the governance of the branch and the club is carried out correctly. So I think we need to do some navel gazing and make sure that we're doing our job correctly in helping branches and clubs carry out their duties. But ultimately, it is the branch and the club who has the last say about who can come into their facilities and join them as branch associates. I urge you to vote in favour of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Nobody else on behalf of the council, then please. Oh, we have got another one. Come on in. Sorry, you were hiding.
Good morning. David Birch, Bradford Branch. I would be against this resolution for the simple reason I don't think we need branch associates. I think we're missing a big trick here. Anybody who wants to help the association without joining it under the title of the association now is called a volunteer, and they don't pay anything. all they have to do is register with the area coordinator, and then they can help at whatever clubs they want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a classic example where, and you'll have recalled from previous conference where I said, don't just come up and repeat what the previous guy has said, bring something fresh, because the actual counting will do with the vote. That was an example of what I'm after. And there was a fresh aspect there which none of us had actually considered. So thank you very much indeed. Sorry, Adi, I think you're on for the council. Thank you.
Mr Chairman, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Adi Morris, speaking on behalf of Council and against this resolution. The proposer of this resolution has referred to changes made in 2000, and this should be the basis for conference accepting this resolution. However, this matter stems back to when Friends of the Association were made full associate members of the Association in recognition of the contribution that they make to the successful running of the branches. As far back as 1998, conference resolved that implementation, organisation and administration of associate membership of both RAFA branches and branch clubs should be reviewed. In 2000, some 17 years ago, branch associates were introduced, who shall be registered and administered at branch level only, pay subscriptions as decided by the branch, and have such rights, privileges and conditions within the branch as may be decided by the conference. In 2007, and much debated during last year's conference, it was resolved that, in recognising the great support given to the association over many years by the spouses and partners of ordinary or life members, and the comradeship enjoyed by them, resolves that associate member spouses and partners of the ordinary or life members of the association may be offered the choice to take up ordinary membership if they so wish. This resolution recognised that time had moved on and the role and position of the branch associate had evolved significantly from 2000. Many branches have made great strides in bringing branch associates into the association and encouraging them to become full associate members of the association. I am advised that the proposed zone branch has done this, and they now no longer have any branch associates. We all recognise that individuals may wish to support their partner or friend who is a member of the association from time to time, either by attending a branch meeting or event, or by giving their time and expertise to support the branch in some way, but do not wish to join the association. The Council is not seeking to dissuade such individuals from doing so. We are, given all the proposed changes to the regulations today, challenging the need to retain a separate membership category of the association for friends and volunteers. Is conference seeking to look back almost 20 years, or are we seeking to look forward? This is not a vote about closing clubs. The Council asks delegates not to support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adi. And there's the right to reply before we go to a vote. John, you're welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Conference, can I just repeat something I said when I first put forward this resolution? Obviously, we should all encourage all of our supporters to become full members, full associate members. And can I say now that my own branch, which has a club, we persuaded all of our branch associates who were members of the club to become full members. However, should I say that the contribution that they pay to be a club member also includes the £8.50 to be an associate member, and the club pays that to us. However, that is just from the point of view of my own branch. Now, I'm fully aware that we should try to encourage everybody to become an associate member of the association. But I still feel that there is a place, and I say this is my branch that I represent here. My branch feels that there is still a place for those who, for their own personal reasons, do not wish to become a full associate member. Now, I would ask that you vote for this and that we retain this category of branch associates. Thank you very much, Conference. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
John, thank you very much indeed. Right, as long as you've not lost your voting handsets in the meantime, let's move to the vote. Oh, yeah. Well, the resolution was not carried. It was a very brave attempt, and it has actually opened up an issue which is, I think, very important. And there's nothing that we are ever wanting to do to turn off people who want to help. And I understand, I absolutely understand how important that is to not just some branches, but all branches. But you know, if you've got somebody who's helping on an occasional basis, yeah, encourage them to become associate members. But if they don't, then it doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's like an awful lot of things. Actually having them engaging in our activities is probably the most important thing. The membership bit can come later. So thank you very much for your wisdom, Conference. And something which Taff pointed out to me just now, normally at this stage when we get together, when we do other stuff in the morning, the conference room is half empty. Maybe that's the presence of the promenade and the ice cream that does that, but it means actually having you here now engaging in these really important matters which are so important to the future of our association, not just at council level, but all the way down to your clubs and branches. Having so many people here is very, very important, so thank you very much for that. Right, now more fun and games. Are you sound of wind and limb, John? Are you presenting on this one? Good. It is the RP3 emergency resolution tabled by York, which Taff mentioned to you in the supplementary report earlier on this morning. The floor is yours.
It's unusual for me to be stood up here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Chairman, delegates and friends. John Allison, speaking on behalf of York Branch. The emergency resolution before you refers to resolution number 7, which Central Council proposed to set a venue for the 2019 annual conference in a Midland location. The York Branch resolution is submitted as an emergency resolution in compliance with Rules Procedure 3. As branches were not informed of the content of all resolutions until after the closing date for branches to submit counter-resolutions. In fact, resolutions were sent out on the 3rd of April. In the past, council resolutions have been circulated in the following council meeting in the first year in February. I remember this as a former member of Central Council and chairman of the annual conference committee. Thank you, Taff. It is many years, and it's at least 30 years, since annual conference resolved to alternate its annual conferences in the north and the south, and we see no reason not to continue this long-standing tradition. We must also consider the needs of accompanying persons to our conference venues. Towns, and in particular seaside towns, offer diverse facilities for those who accompany us to our annual conference. And I think the President covered a little bit what I was going to say just now about the seaside. And where's the seaside around this place? Sorry about that, folks. Delegates, if you support this emergency resolution, this will give Central Council time to research a venue
for the South Coast for the annual conference 2020, including Eastbourne as a possibility, and I say just as a possibility, following the refurbishment of that conference facilities, and it was massive, absolutely. Please support this emergency resolution. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, John. Sorry, the seconder is Henrik. Thank you very much.
Who wants to speak?
Chairman, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Chappell speaking on behalf of the Annex branch. It is possible by holding annual conference centrally to the UK, it may benefit a number of branches and the team at Atlas House. But it may also deter the more remoter branches from sending delegates, and this, in my opinion, will be to their and the associates and the association's disadvantage. A possible compromise would be to hold each third annual conference central to the UK, but that would possibly be the subject of your consideration and a resolution at the next conference. In the meantime, let us keep to the previous policy by alternating conferences between the North and South and give all branches and members the best opportunity to attend conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Heather Little, speaking on behalf of Northern Area Council. Northern Area Council would like to propose an RP5 to this emergency resolution. It will not have escaped delegates that this emergency resolution is proposed by York, seconded by Alnwick, both Northern Area branches. By its very nature, emergency resolutions are unlikely to have been discussed by an area council, and this is the case. Rotation of annual conference between North and South is nothing new. This year, we should have been at Eastbourne, were it not that they belatedly told us that the venue we needed was being refurbished. That we are at Yarnfield next year rather than in the North is for the exceptional reason of the RAF centenary and the close proximity of this location to the National Memorial Arboretum. The rotation we have enjoyed previously can be summed up as odd years in the South, even years in the North. In the North, where the War of the Roses is still keenly fought, or Scouse rivals meet Geordie ones, I've got no comment on that. We rotate our area conferences east-west, being west in odd years and east being even years. Thus, should this resolution be accepted, there will be in 2019 both the Northern Area Conference and our annual conference in the same location, same hotel, inviting the same local dignitaries, all within 6 weeks. Now, you may think that this does not matter. What say you to those who believe we should be doing away with area conferences anyway? What say you to those who will point out that there will be cost savings by potentially adding Northern Area Conference to the annual conference? And what say those to the fact that if Blackpool continues to be the venue of choice in the North for annual conference, then this area annual conference conflict could continue forever. All this can be avoided by amending this resolution to read 2020 instead of 2019. Whichever way, Northern Area Council will need to take its view at its next meeting in June. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there'll just be a few minutes pause while the clever people actually incorporate 2020 in the place of 2019, and then we will vote on the RP5, and then we will debate the revised resolution if you accept the revision. Meanwhile, all this north and south and east and west, it just makes me feel the need for a navigator. But I promised Alison that I wouldn't tell any navigator jokes today, so I shan't. No, we're doing an RP5. We will vote on that first, and then then if it's either accepted or not, we'll then discuss whatever comes out of the RP5 vote. Okay? Relax. I'd sit back down again if I were you. Yeah. Again. Because the next resolution will take anyway, and that's the council one for 2019.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, heads up. Voting buttons at the ready, please. The amended resolution is now on the screen. What I need you to do now is tell me whether you wish to debate the amended resolution or actually chuck out the idea of amendment and go back to the way it was originally written. So that is all we're doing, and it's a straight vote now, and it's a simple majority. So if you take up your handsets, please, let's vote. Okay, they're just getting the voting bit to work with the software. I'm assured it's only 30 seconds away, so if I fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, give me a nudge, won't you? Okay, I'm informed by another clever gadget that it's done, so there it is. So handsets, please, and we are voting just for the change of the resolution wording. For, against, and abstain. Please press on. How many? Okay. Okay, that resolution, that RP5 to the emergency resolution, it's getting complicated, isn't it? Has been passed. So what we're now going to debate is the reworded resolution that the conference location goes back to alternating north and south and Blackpool 2020. Who wishes to speak?
Conference, sirs, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Calhoun, Torquay Branch.
I'm for the resolution to go north and south. I like Blackpool, I like Eastbourne, I think a lot of us do. Wales, Midlands, South West area have had enormous difficulty in securing a venue in the Midlands for annual conference. They tried Telford. I didn't attend personally, but I still it resounds my ear. Telford, disaster. And we simply haven't managed a venue in the Midlands. I'm not convinced this location is ideal for our annual conference to carry on with beyond next year. So I fully support the North, South, Blackpool, Eastbourne. Why fix something which isn't broken, I say. So I urge you to vote for that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak?
President Conference, Bob Hunt, Chairman of the European Area. Our area conference, which was held yesterday, has discussed this resolution, albeit, of course, we did not discuss the amendment. However, the unanimous opinion of our area conference was in favour of this particular resolution. It has in the past always been the case of the association to move between the north and south. And a very comprehensive survey undertaken by one of our councillors over the past 20 plus years has shown that by attending conferences both north and south, this has in the past encouraged much greater attendance at our conference. And as the previous speaker said in his presentation, if it ain't broke, let's not try and fix it. Okay, the amendment has been passed and we're looking at going back to 2020, and I would suggest that in 2020, ladies and gentlemen, we go back to north and south, starting in lovely, lovely Blackpool. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Please go ahead.
Terry Dennett from Southwest Branch in France. I'm totally against this proposal. I was born in Margate in Kent. I hate to say it, but aged Victorian seaside towns are not the ideal place to have an important conference. The facilities are dated, particularly Blackpool, and the transport connections to Blackpool is impossible. With the trains now no longer direct, there's no airfield close by. Blackpool airfield is now closed, and I therefore feel that it is a backward step, and I personally disagree with the previous speaker, but one, I think this venue is ideal. And I think if we can continue to improve the facilities here with consultation, I think this is a fantastic place to continue to come to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Gibbo, please, on behalf of Council, Scronnedy Gibson.
President, Chairman, delegates, Scronnedy Dean Gibson speaking on behalf of Central Council. Your Council is against this resolution. Many delegates have spoken eloquently on this matter, and Council and the ACC anticipated proposals from the area council to host an annual conference in 2019, now 2020. Despite a number of informal conversations between the ACC and the area chairman, none were forthcoming of presenting a location. The Council's Resolution 7 seeks to enable Council to source a venue for 2019 and 2020. Delegates at Conference 2015 indicated in their feedback that a venue in the centre of the UK would be much preferred. This resolution seeks to revert to a practice that did not reflect the wishes of those delegates. And I appreciate there are a large number of delegates here today. Today, we have more branches in attendance than for many, many years. and every room is full with over 350 people. Council urges the delegates to vote against this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. The right of reply, please. John, do you wish to reply?
No, I'm okay. I'm happy with 2020 as it is.
Okay. In that case, we'll move to the vote.
It's the RP5.
Excellent. So the resolution that you voted on is carried. So that what you have said is we will revert to a north-south alternating conference in 2020, and in 2020 it will be located in Blackpool. Now, had that resolution been debated, unamended and passed, then there would have been no point debating the next resolution, because that would have automatically fallen. But actually, having changed the wording through RP5 to 2020, it leaves a gap, as in there is no decided venue for 2019. So I'm afraid you're not going to get away early. We are now going to debate our resolution number 7, which is talking about sourcing a conference venue for 2019. And those who think we've done with RP5 procedures, just hang around. Gibbo, you're on, mate.
It seems like ages since I was here. Scoring leader Dean Gibson. Delegates, Mr. President, Chairman. Scoring leader Dean Gibson speaking on behalf of Central Council to support Resolution 7. Conference, by way of a background, I would like to explain the inclusion of this resolution for consideration by conference to enable areas to make the recommendations on potential venues within their areas. The ACC produced a venue specification list, which was circulated widely to area councils and others. Subsequently, a number of informal discussions were held between area chairman and chair of the ACC. In the end, however, no proposals for a venue were received by the ACC. This was primarily due to cost constraints placed upon the ACC, aiming to reduce the costs each year to run annual conference. For your information, St George's, the National Football Centre outside Burton-upon-Trent, which is closer to the National Memorial Arboretum than Yarnfield, would have added an extra £60,000 to the cost of conference. Consequently, Council determined that there was a requirement to submit a generic resolution. Conference requests that this conference supports this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gibbo. Can I have a seconder, please? Lester. Thank you very much indeed. Right, views for and against, please. Please.
Heather
Settle
Little,
down, please.
speaking on behalf of Northern Area Council. Northern Area Council would like to propose an RP5 to this resolution to suggest that the term in the Midlands be removed, as this will give greater scope to the team looking for a venue for 2019. So we propose an RP5 to remove in the Midlands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. We'll do as we did before. The scribes will be scribing away in the background. I'm sure there's a song in the Midlands, isn't there? And I'll be asking you to vote shortly on just that. So what I'll be looking for, first of all, is a seconder, and then it'll be a straight vote, and then we'll debate the resolution after that. Sorry, I have a seconder already. York branch. Thank you very much, John. Excellent. Good. In that case, we shall move to the vote, please. Come on, this was actually pre-wired. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, voting pingers, please. And remember here, we're voting for the changed words, not the actual resolution itself. It's clever stuff, this, isn't it? You still enjoying it, Baz? Are there any wheel clamps on his car? Good, excellent. So the actual resolution that we will now debate is that this conference resolves that Council will source a venue for the 2019 conference. So who wishes to speak for or against that? Drained of passion. Wonderful. We've had a seconder, so we'll move straight to the vote, please. I was always led to believe electricity moved at the speed of light. Oh, here we go, it's up. So vote away, please. Excellent, thank you very much indeed. And just out of devilment, I note that you didn't say we couldn't go back to Blackpool in 2019 under that last resolution. Thank you so much. Sorry, that was out of devilment. Sorry, Baz, I'm making a bit of a mess of it for you. Right, okay, we're not there yet, but we're getting close. This is now a serious one that nobody will ever forget for as long as they live. The shambles that I managed to make of the resolution relating to our trophies last year. It was debated, it was lost, but actually it's a quite important issue and it's a part of modernisation. So it was on my request that the council agreed to bring it back, but it's staggered. And you know the process for that. It says that actually, unless you give me permission, and that has to be a 2/3 majority, then we can't debate it again this year. But it has been very widely worked through all the areas and down to the branches and considered and come back. And it is actually quite an important piece of work. And so I genuinely seek your permission. And I throw myself on your mercy, that's all I can do, to actually ask John Tisbury, who chaired the Trophies Review Committee, to come back and actually present to us in slightly less time than Ian did last year. But first of all, thank you, John. But what I need to do, though, is I need your permission to do that. So the first vote, then, for which I need a 2/3 majority, is to enable me to withdraw the dagger, please. There we go, removing the dagger. When it goes green, please vote. Yeah. I can't see the bottom corner number. It's coming up. It shows a percentage anyway. Well, that gives me the two-thirds majority I was looking for. Thank you very much indeed. And therefore, it's my great pleasure to welcome John Tisbury and his commanding presence up to the stage for us to debate resolution number 8. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Mr. President. President, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, John Tisbury speaking on behalf of Council and proposing Resolution 8. Thank you, Conference, for removing the dagger to enable this resolution to be debated. Colleagues will recall that at last year's annual conference, delegates rejected the resolution proposed by Council that they accept the findings of the trophy review. It was clear from the debate that the main concern was that the delegates felt that they and their branches had had insufficient time to consider the detail of the paper. The work on developing the paper which accompanied the resolution was initiated by the Area Chairman's Group. Therefore, at their next meeting, following the rejection of the resolution, the Area Chairman agreed to circulate the trophy review paper to all the branches in their areas, seeking comment and/or agreement. This was carried out, and at their most recent meeting, all Area Chairmen reported back that responding branches had indicated acceptance of the proposed changes. There was, however, a widely held concern that all donors of trophies or their surviving families should be advised of any changes to the use of their trophy. In addition, a copy of the trophy review paper was included for delegates' purposes in this year's pack. The proposals result from a need to rationalise the trophies awarded to better reflect the situation that we now find ourselves in. We have fewer branches, fewer areas, and in some cases the criteria for awarding a trophy has been overtaken by technology and/or events. The reasons for changes are listed in each case within the trophy paper, and this year I do not intend to go through them all. Should Conference accept the proposed changes, the revised competition would commence in January 2018, with the first trophies under the new system being awarded at annual conference in 2019, wherever that is. Council undertakes to advise all trophy donors or their surviving family of the change of use of their trophy, if that is the case, giving them the opportunity to withdraw their trophy if they so wish. Conference, as all branches, have had the opportunity to consider the proposals in detail and have indicated through their area headquarters and/or area chairman their acceptance of the changes. Council strongly encourages Conference to support this resolution and accept the changes recommended in the report. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, John. Can I have a seconder, please? Margaret Drayton, thank you very much indeed. And speakers for and against? Noel, my dear chap.
President, Conference. Noel Williams, Vice Chair and Wings Appeal Organiser of the Carrickfergus branch in Northern Ireland, or as we say over there, Northern Ireland. I would like to speak in favour of this motion, but there are a couple of points I'd like to make. My delegate last year, I believe, Isabel Day, spoke against this plan, and the reason for that, in our opinion, was that the Dame and an Eagle trophy was withdrawn during a time that we were competing for it. However, I fully accept the reasons for changing that, and that's fine, as long as you put Carrickfergus on it before you hand it over. But anyway, that said, if you look at the trophies, the paper, I believe there's an error in the paper. And the third trophy is the Gwynvaughan Wings, which is the award for the home branch who are involved in the running, who receive income from an air show per head. The Lord Stirrup Trophy is for a home branch not running an air show per head. And then if you go to the top of the page, the Thomas Pike Trophy is for the branch involved in an air show who raises the most money. And that's staying as is. It says retain. The error in this paper is the second entry there, the Lord Stirrup Trophy. The Lord Stirrup Trophy is already allocated at position 4. The trophy that I think should be in there is the Lord Craig Trophy, which is awarded for the highest net wings appeal collection, excluding air shows. So there's an error there. The Lord Stirrup can't be awarded twice. I think it's just a typo, but number 2 should be the Lord Craig Trophy. I urge you to make that amendment and approve the paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noel. Any other comments for or against? Do you wish to comment to Noel's? Okay, for those who didn't hear that, John Tisbury has said thanks for those comments, Noel. He will incorporate those. In that case, no further to do. We'll move to the vote, please. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And John and all of your committee, thank you for your tenacity as well, having put now 2 years' effort into it. We've got the result you're looking for. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, we're down now to the final resolution, and this is number 8, being put forward by Aylesford and Marling. Good God, so it is. It gets us even closer to lunch, doesn't it? Graham, please, the floor is yours.
Graham Grice, Aylesford and Morning Branch. Mr. Chairman, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I bring before you Resolution 9. I don't propose to read it out to you, it's on the screens. However, you can see the gist of the intent here. I'll take you on a little historic journey back to the late 1990s. And many of you in this room today will recall a fantastic discussion that we had and a debacle that ensued around a proposed change to the association's logo to remove our beloved logo that we currently see of the eagle on the globe to a swish. And you'll recall that Central Council had decided that they were going to go ahead with that without recourse to us, the membership. And it all fell down very badly around their ears. Now, you'll recall also, as in the resolution, there was a point raised in 2009, and whilst I understand resolutions only stand for 5 years, notwithstanding that, I would like you to bear in mind that the council were asked to respect the membership of the association, i.e. us, when making any changes to the logo or the emblem of the association, or indeed the branding. And it's really about the branding that I want to bring to your attention. You'll see underneath the brand, on all of the paperwork that you have received, the charity that supports the RAF family. And indeed, of course, we do support our family. You know, that is our aim. But there are other charities that also do the same. The Benevolent Fund and also the RAF Families Federation. So which is it that is supporting the RAF family? Is it us? Or is it one of those? Or is it all of us together? And if it's all of us together, should we be using the same strapline? Which, of course, we don't. So I think the intent, really, from my branch was that Central Council be reminded that if they wish to make changes to the emblem or to the logo or indeed to the branding, they should bring that to us good people, the membership, first. For it is, after all, our association. And I think the intent would be, therefore, that we would wish to go back to what was on the branding previously And then, if taking account of council's market test that they carried out on what people thought our association actually represented, and that's where the bit about the charity and the family came from, then we could discuss that, at a future conference through an appropriate resolution whereby the result of would be determined the way forward by us, the membership. So I urge you to vote in favour of this resolution, and I won't take up any more of your time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Dunstable. And can I have views for and against, please?
John Gilmore, Chairman, Dunstable Branch. Mr. President, Council, delegates and friends, I hope. Dunstable Branch supports this resolution as it also applies to two resolutions that we submitted at annual conference previously. Emergency Resolution 1 at Conference 2014 and Resolution 8 at Conference 2015, which concerned the branding, our identity branding. All these resolutions refer to changes to the branding made by Central Council and or our employees of the association and not sanctioned by conference. Conference opposed the changes and the resolutions were passed by a majority, if not unanimously. Regardless of the decisions by conference, Central Council and or our employees made the decision to change the branding and totally ignore Rule 30 prior to Rules Revision 2016, which is now Rule 23, but no significant change, and published a new identity handbook in the latter part of 2015, which I hasten to add was not presented at conference in 2016 for approval as required by resolutions submitted and passed previously. I urge you to support this resolution.
Thank you, John. Any other views? Paul, please. If you do wish to speak, please make your way to the front. Otherwise, we just lose time as you nimbly trot to the microphone. Heather? Oh, okay, you're going to queue. That's fine. Come on, Paul.
Thank you. Paul Branson, Mid Somerset. I'm worried about dropping one word, a very important word, and the word is charity. There are many charities, and in the public's eye, you find they do not understand quite about charities and who is a charity and who is not. I think they see the names, the Royal Air Force. I know it's followed by association, but the Royal Air Force means to them the people who are flying the planes at the moment and serving in the Royal Air Force. The fact that they need, eventually, some of them, charity, and that we're here to provide it, gives the public, just that, through that one word, what we're about in a great area of our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Heather, please do.
Heather Little, Northern Area Council. I'm not doing an RP5, don't worry. So, break from the norm. I have to agree with the previous speaker. I think that obviously the brand, as we look at it now, brings it in line with the overall Royal Air Force. And the strapline itself, the charity that supports the RAF family, brings it in line with the overall charity sector and other straplines that exist within the third sector. I think that obviously, friendship, help and support is absolutely what we are about, but to the wider public, that is exactly what we do. It does what it says on the tin. And instead of looking back, I think there's been a lot of speak, about us looking forward. And I think we need to continue to do that. And this brand and strapline enables us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Anybody else coming up? Oh, yeah, please do.
Pete McWilliams, Chairman of the Republic of Ireland branch. Might seem strange that I should be the one to give a lecture on grammar, but the is the definite article, a is the indefinite article, and as my good friend Graham said earlier, we're not the charity that supports the RAF family, we're one of them, not the. It's technically incorrect. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Council, Chris, please.
And years gone by, I didn't need glasses, now I do, so there you go. Chairman, President, Council, and of course Conference. Chris Goss speaking for Central Council and its Council's decision not to support this. As I'm sure delegates will be well aware, all successful organisations have to keep very close eye on their very public profile. And as the world changes, they adapt branding and publicity to keep pace. And in 2014, your council commissioned a research project into awareness and understanding of the association. The research focused on two audiences, not surprisingly the RAF family, veterans serving and the families themselves, and the wider general public. The results of the research were clear. The RAF family audience felt the existing friendship, held and support strapline was ineffectual and lacked clarity. A clearer definition of the organisation and its work was obviously necessary. Now turning to the general public, their feelings were even stronger. When shown the logo, a frequent assumption was the association was purely, and I quote, it's not my words, a social club for ex-RAF personnel. The top-notch, first-class welfare work that our members undertake every day, in and out, for the most of our needy RAF family, was not understood one bit. Therefore, in 2015, Council took the decision to act on the findings of the research and to change the wording of our logo strapline from what we've been discussing, and I disagree with you, Peter, to the charity that supports the RAF family. The choice of wording for the new strapline was based, again, on the evidence from the research study. The proposer is correct that the logo design was debated at a previous conference, but no regulation existed or exists requiring this to happen. Moreover, the debate which took place in 2009, which, as we have agreed, is well over 5 years ago, is therefore time expired. I hope the delegates would agree that when making decisions of this nature, most responsible course of action is not to base them on anecdote, but to base them on apocryphal views of the few, but on the wider correct audience and research and empirical evidence. This was the course that your council took then, and we believe should be taken in the future. A new strapline has been received extremely positively, and awareness of association has understandably increased. A quarterly independent survey called the Charity Awareness Monitor was carried out by a company called Not-for-Profit Synergy in the first quarter of this year. The question posed was, and again I quote, please indicate whether you have heard of the following charities or organisations. As a result, the association is ranked as the third best known of the UK's major military charities, behind the RBL and Help for Heroes. The recognition of the association by the wider general public has now grown since the new strapline has been introduced. Your association's current marketing, developed in response to the comprehensive research we commissioned, is therefore working. We are truly the charity that supports the RAF family, and we should be proud to shout about it. Therefore, why would we want to throw away the huge strides that we've made forward in the last 2 years and go back to being one of the RAF's best-kept secrets, or, as I've said before, a social club for ex-RAF personnel? Council urges delegates not to support this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Right, you have the right to reply before we move to a vote. I'm afraid you are. You had plenty of opportunity earlier.
Mr. Chairman, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I hear exactly what council say, and indeed I applaud the excellent work they did in researching this and that they continue to do to make sure that our charity appears to be relevant among the general public. However, the tenet of this resolution is not necessarily about that. What it is actually about is the fact that certainly within my branch, Aylesford and Morling, we believe that council overstepped their authority and usurped you, the members, by making the change to the branding without your authority. And that is what I'm asking you to vote for. Now, whether or not, subsequently, because you like the strapline, you wish then to have that applied, that would have to come through another resolution. But we certainly believe that council overstepped their mark. Thank you.
Okay, it's time to move to the vote. The discussion is over. Please focus on the words on the screen. That is what you're voting on. Do you support that or do you not? So let's go to the vote now, please. Conference has spoken. Thank you very much indeed. It was interesting. Obviously, the results of the votes are very important, but Taff and I have been carefully monitoring the voting numbers in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. I'm genuinely impressed, actually. Your tenacity this morning has been really very, very good. I know some have snuck in and out, but actually we've had the majority of delegates voting on everything, so very well done. It's, I think, the best we've done in terms of representation for every conference I've been at. Right, that's the end of our resolution business. I'm now going to crave your indulgence at least one more time before we pack up and go home. The running order for the conference now is we would be going into the chairman's report. What I want to do, and actually we'll be doing that after lunch. Well, if you go downstairs now, there won't be lunch. What I'd like to do, and it's up to you to say no, stop, is I'd like to invite the Honorary Treasurer to deliver his report and vote on his proposal for the auditors for the next year. And if at the end of that we still have time, I might well turn to the Chairman of Council and ask for his report and vote before we break for lunch. Is anybody widely opposed to that? That will give us a good run this afternoon and we can really enjoy the RAF presentation team and the Chief of the Air Staff's report. So, Phil, I give to you Philip Tagg. Thank you, Phil. Off you go.
Good morning. Philip Tagg, Honorary Treasurer, and it's my pleasure once again to present the Finance and Auditors Report for 2016. Well, people are leaving in droves, but it's not that bad. The trustees, in the form of the Council, are responsible for ensuring that our financial activities comply with the Charities Act 2011, the Charities Accounts and Reports Regulations 2008, the Charities and Trustee Investments Scotland Act 2005, the Charities Accounts Scotland Regulations 2006, and the provisions of the Royal Charter. The Association works to standard FRS 102, which is the main UK financial reporting standard. FRS 102 is a mandatory requirement for the Association based on its size and the nature of its operations, and sets out how the financial transactions are to be treated in the accounts and then how they are recorded in the financial statements.
Sorry to interrupt, Phil. Did you know you got a clicker there for moving on your slides?
Yes, the next one's not on yet.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. I need this reassurance.
Okay, no, it's
Old
fine.
people need it.
Providing specialist expertise to the Council are two subcommittees, drawn from trustees and co-opted experts. The Finance Committee provides detailed oversight on all financial matters, and the Audit Committee provides oversight on issues which are deemed to be business critical issues. They could be finance, but could as easily be legal, HR, or operations. The Audit Committee flexes its approach to address what they consider the key risks of the time. Between Council and the two subcommittees, our finances are subject to constant and rigorous examination. Further scrutiny is then applied by RSM UK LLP, the Association's external auditors. I'm delighted to report that they have provided an unqualified opinion on our 2016 statutory accounts, which means they are happy with the accounts are free from material misstatement. I'm also pleased to report that the 2016 annual accounts portray a positive result for the year, a surplus net income of £3.6 million, which was derived as follows. In 2016, the consolidated income resources raised from members, volunteers, the general public and investment income was £12.85 million, an increase of 30.5% on 2015 when it was £9.84 million. In 2016, legacy income was £6.4 million, a very significant increase of £4.2 million on the previous year. Of course, the annual Wings Appeal remains an important source of funding, raising £1.24 million, but this did represent a fall of £260,000 from 2015. Investment income of £625,000 fell slightly by £21,000 from 2015, although investment capital growth was strong. If we now turn to expenditure, our 2016 expenditure of £11.7 million was £1.9 million above 2015, but was in line with the budget agreed by the Council. £8.1 million went towards supporting residential and Wings Breaks hotels and activities providing friendship and welfare support. There have been no significant changes to the nature of the charitable activities, and there's been no decrease in levels of service. Costs of raising funds increased by £630,000, which was due mainly to the continued investment associated with large door-to-door campaigns and the continuing drive to diversify, which will realise extra income without incurring extra cost in the coming years. You will see from the slide that we have an extremely strong balance sheet, which continues to grow in strength. In 2016, it grew by £2.8 million. Unlike many organisations, our balance sheet is underpinned by real assets in the form of our investment portfolio, our property, our fixed assets, and our cash, our current assets. The Association's investment portfolio of £22.5 million reflects an increase in the market value of £2.3 million from 2015. The Association's investment manager is, however, instructed to be ever more vigilant during a time of economic and political uncertainty. The amount of the deficit in the defined pension scheme has increased from £1.8 million in 2015 to £2.3 million at the end of 2016. The increase is a result of the change in actuarial assumptions, which take account of the current economic conditions. The Association made additional payments into the scheme in 2016 and remains firmly committed to reducing the deficit and, in the long term, eradicating it completely. Total net assets stood at £30.4 million at the end of 2016, which puts us in a very good position to fulfil our 2020 plan. However, we must be careful not to build up our reserves to a point which actually becomes a weakness. We don't want to give those who might support us the impression we don't need their support. Once again, this could undermine our fundraising activity and in turn our ability to fund our welfare activities. This could even lead to questions from the Charity Commission regarding why we're not using our wealth to fund our charitable objects. Achievement of the 2020 objectives set by Council will continue to require prudent financial investment. This will enable the Association to grow while still maintaining healthy financial stability. We will continue to use independent assessors, asset risk consultants, ARC, to undertake an independent review of Rathbones, our investment manager's performance in managing our investment portfolio. The association has no current plans to sell any of our investments, as our financial plan generates sufficient income to cover the costs of delivering our charitable activities. The latest investment policy has refined our ethical approach regarding what funds we judge is appropriate to invest in. Legacies continue to form an important source of funding, and we currently have £2 million in the legacy pipeline, taking us to the end of this year. It is vital that we continue to actively promote the benefits of legacy giving to our members and supporters, which is something we can all play a part in doing, and would urge you to do so. My final point is to update you on the recovery from KSF, the Icelandic bank. We've always been led to understand that the maximum recovery is likely to be 86.5p in the pound, and with a further recent receipt, that level of recovery has now reached 84.25, so not too far off. That completes the formal presentation, other than to propose adoption of my report.
Thank you very much, Phil. That was very clear, and again, coupled with the ability for delegates to read it beforehand, I'd like to move straight to the vote, please. So if the screen's ready, it is. And when it goes green, which it has, if you'd vote, please. Okay, there's a few of them. Good, thank you very much indeed. So your report is accepted, and back to you, Phil.
And we also need to approve the appointment of RSM as our auditors.
Okay, that's a straight vote. If we can get the machine working, please. Here we go. When it goes green, if you can vote, please. Good, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Phil. Those of you with forensic minds who wish to actually really drill down into the detail of the accounts, clearly Phil's going to be around for the next day and a bit. But tomorrow, after we've finished the parade, we're going to have a panel of the officers of the association, which will include Phil, actually answering any of your detailed questions. So if things come to you overnight, then there'll be a chance to challenge then. Again, it's openness. Let's do this together. We still have time to do the chairman's report and have an early lunch, and so I'm kind of keen on both of those. So, John, if you'd like to work your way. Oh, that reminds me of an Ed Offender joke, actually, but I shan't. John, the floor is yours. Actually, Chaff and I are going to leave the stage so we can see your slides from over here. But at the end of the presentation, again, we will vote on the chairman's report. Thank you.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, your chairman's annual report. I'm going to do it slightly differently from what you're used to in the past. I'd like to cover some of the achievements for 2016, but we just don't have time to go through all of them. In doing that, I want to highlight some of the challenges that are emerging and that we need to deal with in the future. And whilst I'm not going to pick up on all of these, this afternoon, when the Secretary-General talks to you, and now he's got an even longer lunch break to prepare for it. He'll talk to some of these challenges. And the one other thing that I want to do is to try and dispel some of the myths that I'm hearing as I go around the association. Some of these are amusing. Some of them, though, are really quite damaging to your association. We'll pick up on those later. Some 4 years ago, our president presented us with a vision for 2020. And in that, we were given, basically, 3 options. We could carry on as we were, change nothing, but we knew that we were a declining organisation, and the fact was we would simply fade away. We could change things and set about rejuvenating the association. And if all of that failed, well, we could seek to amalgamate with the Benevolent Fund. As I say, that first option, there wouldn't be an association in the end. The third option, we would lose our identity. So effectively, we would lose the association that we know. So I'm delighted to say that you chose the middle option, that we would rejuvenate the association. So how have we been doing? Well, today we are growing. We've made significant investment in our future. But in doing all of this, it's required reform, it's required modernisation and improvement. Now, I know that for some of you, some of those words do not sit easily. Reform, modernisation. I've even had people push back on investment. I've even had people complain about growing. Well, that's what you asked for, a rejuvenated association. Part of that is membership. We are a membership organisation. It's the bedrock of this association. We've talked about it several times today. But given how important membership is to this organisation, why on earth did we allow this to happen? At the turn of the millennium, we had over 100,000 members. By 2013, we dropped to almost half that. I'm not going to go into all the politics as to why that happened, but there is a basic fact. There is an underlying outflow. We're all going to become part of the statistics that we lose members because they die. But we also have memberships that lapse. And so every 3 years, we lose about 10,000 members. We have to recruit 10,000 new members every 3 years just to stand still. If we don't do anything about it, it doesn't take much to work out where the association's going. That graph shows that we would disappear by 2020. I think we would have disappeared sooner than that, because I think the down curve would accelerate. We'd just reach a point where we were no longer viable. So we've invested, and that's meant investing in people, branch support officers, a head of membership, a new membership administrator. And that investment has seen us turn the corner. And so over the last 3 years, we've been growing members, and we, at the end of 2016, had risen back up to 65,500. Great achievement, but it's taken a huge effort. This brings me to my first challenge. The Council has set a challenge of returning to a membership figure of 100,000 by the year 2020. As you can see, to get there, that is a really steep climb. Is it possible? Well, yes. If every member went out and recruited one new member tomorrow, we'd bust that number in a heartbeat. But realistically, that's not going to happen. So a huge challenge. Now, I hear some of you, and I think it was mentioned earlier, that the majority of people we're recruiting are just associate members. Well, I'm sorry, it's a myth. If you take the spread, percentage spread of membership, our serving members, the pay-as-you-earn, and our ordinary members make up about half of our membership. About 40% are life members, and just 14% are associate members. When we started on this journey, when you asked for rejuvenation, we actually had a percentage at 15 for associate members. So the overall percentage is actually falling. We're recruiting ordinary members, as well as some associates. I've also heard that actually we're just recruiting lots more old people. No, it's not true. If you look at the profile of, the age profile of those people we recruited in 2016, look at that at the left-hand side. Huge number of youngsters. Now, I know some of these in that below 25 bracket are new recruits to the Air Force, but quite a few of them are older than that. And importantly for me, we're starting to fill the gap that we had, that black hole in the 50, 55, 65 bracket. These are the people who hopefully will come in, they've got the experience, and they will be future committee members. Start your succession planning. The people are coming in. Now, that does give me another challenge, though, that given that we've recruited some 17,000 people since 2014, at a figure of 65,500, the mathematicians amongst you will have worked out that about a quarter of our members have only been with us for 3 years or less. And so that raises the challenge of how do we retain these new members? What is it that turns them on? What are their needs? That takes me into welfare. I have heard it said that, well, we're not really a welfare organisation. I'm not going to have a rant about that right now. I would just say, please go and read the Royal Charter. Read the object. And if you've still got a problem with that, come and have a chat to me in the bar. As if to prove that, the demand for our welfare output has gone up by nearly 50% in the last few years. One of the real challenges that we're finding on the welfare side, and you only have to open your newspapers, turn the radio on, turn the TV on, and you'll hear almost on a daily basis of the national crisis in loneliness and isolation. And yeah, it affects us as well. And there are a whole raft of things that your association is doing to help deal with that problem, because we have said that people who have served in the Air Force, served their country, made the sacrifice, will not suffer loneliness. I'll just pick on a few of those there. The Befriending Initiative. What a huge success this has been. We have volunteers from kids in university through to a serving Air Vice Marshal, through to a 91-year-old who are providing these befriending services. We know where people are lonely, they have a problem, and we're able to connect them up with somebody who can just provide, actually, I'd say provide them with a bit of company. In some cases, it's changed their life, it's transformed their life. It's wonderful. Linked to that is the Keeping in Touch campaign. As I said, we have a lot of members lapse each year. Their membership, they don't renew it. And so what we do now, something we didn't used to do, is we get in touch with them. Not to sort of say or demand that they pay their membership fee, but to find out why. Why? Is there a problem? And sure enough, about half of those people turn out to be welfare cases. The reason that their membership has lapsed is that they've become infirm. Perhaps they've become deaf, and therefore they've not been able to get to their branch. And so they've allowed their membership to lapse. The befriending route is part of the way that we can help a lot of these people. But it isn't just the elderly that suffer from the loneliness and isolation. And so one of the other initiatives we've got for the youngsters in the Air Force, I mean, the digital age is being recognised as something that is generating isolation. The kids go off, lock themselves in their room for the weekend and just play games rather than communing with their friends. And so the association has been putting Wi-Fi into communal areas on RAF stations, a well-received initiative. I could talk about some of the others. The bottom bullet there, the storybook wings, that's the youngest element of the RAF family. The children, that they suffer loneliness when parents are detached abroad. So we've got a whole raft of great schemes run by our employees, by our volunteers. But it's all required investment. And again, people, new head of housing and care. But right down at the bottom there, we've also invested in welfare training. And we are really well advanced in what we do as an organisation. And I'm sure Nick will talk a little bit more about that later. But one of the things that's driving this is the Care Act of 2014. It's not an option. We have to adhere to this. And what we're doing in terms of the training for all people, from volunteers through to our employees who are involved in the welfare activities, it's not just to protect the beneficiaries, it's to protect the people who are doing the work for us. So, where have we got to? Just recap. We've grown the membership, we've grown our welfare products. All of that has required us to invest in people and activities. In other words, we're spending more money. Yes, I've heard. People have nudged me. Are we heading for another financial crisis? No, we're not. You just heard the Honorary Treasurer's report. We're actually in great financial shape at the moment. Since 2012, where we were continuing to decline in our expenditure, since then, year on year, we've increased the amount of money we're spending on all of these activities. But we've never spent more than we've had in terms of income. And as a result, the association's reserves have continued to increase. And as you just heard from the report from Phil, they now sit at over £30 million. We're in good shape financially. Yeah, but what we're doing, of course, all that money we're spending, we're just filling the headquarters with loads of people. Sorry, it's a myth. 4 out of every 5 of our employees are involved in welfare activities out in the hotels, in our homes, or they're involved in membership activities out in the areas. You can see you can call them back office activities. They're actually key activities, key enabling activities that are going on in the headquarters. It's a relatively small number of people that are involved in doing that. And if any of you can, go up and visit the headquarters and have a look. It's not exactly heaving with people. The headquarters, yes. We blew a whole pile of money on an expensive headquarters, didn't we? Myth. I'm sorry, it's not true. We had to move the headquarters. For anybody who'd ever been to Loughborough Road, it was a slum. It was an appalling place for people to have to work. It was falling down. It was a health and safety catastrophe. It was going to cost us far more than the building was worth just to get it up to a health and safety inspection standard. Never mind make it a place for people to work in. So, the decision was taken by council to procure a new headquarters building. We budgeted £2.2 million, and the Secretary-General was sent off to get on with it. And being a good Secretary-General, he spent, near as damn it, £2.2 million. And that was the purchase, the refurbishment of the building, and adding all the fixtures and fittings that went in there. Now that, I know, sounds quite a lot of money. But that was offset by the sale of Loughborough Road and VAT returns that we were able to get. In other words, we actually spent £1.38 million. Now, as part of the accounting rules, having brought a new property onto the books, we have to have it revalued. External auditor comes in, that's the value of the building. Now, by my simple mathematics, I think we've just increased the net worth of the association by about £1 million. If that's expensive, then I'll have more of it, because we'll soon be very rich. Sorry, I'm joking a little bit. But there are other aspects to this. By going into the new property, we're able to change the way that we do business, and that's allowing us to increase the amount of VAT we recover. Meetings. We used to have our council meetings down in London that in Loughborough Road, you couldn't. We'd have to sit out in the car park. Would have been the only place big enough to have hosted the council meeting. Now in our new headquarters, we can hold the council meetings there. That's saving money on travel and subsistence. And just practices within the building. The fact that we now don't have to have a printer in every single room, all the myriad of rooms that there were in Loughborough Road. We have single printers all connected up. It's all saving money. Within 6 years, that £1.38 million, we're going to see that come back in. Actually, that's profit. So please, don't keep going around saying we've got an expensive headquarters. We don't. We've got a fantastic headquarters that's fit for purpose. In fact, there was not long after we moved in there, one of the employees came up to me and said, "You know, boss, I'm really proud to bring people in here now." He said it was an embarrassment when we held meetings in Loughborough Road. And I think that sums up what kind of change there's been. So, continued rejuvenation. How are we going to continue doing that? Well, we've got a bunch of strategic objectives that we've set, that Council has set. I've talked about growing the membership. Big ask to get back to 100,000, certainly by 2020. But let's do it. I want us to become a leading provider of welfare services to the RAF family. We are. We can do better though. But we work together with the Benevolent Fund, and we do wonderful work. We want to champion the interests of our beneficiaries. Again, we do, but perhaps not as well as we could. So there's room for improvement. I want to be recognised for having excellence and achievement. And again, that comes down to the part of the branding, I know, but it's getting that recognition for what we do, not just by beneficiaries, but by the whole of the RAF family, by serving members and the public. And again, that's something that we're doing. We're gradually becoming recognised for that. But to achieve all of these things, as we continue to rejuvenate, we need to increase the amount of funds that are coming in. And we've set ourselves a target of going up to £15 million by 2020. And I'm sure Nick will talk a bit more about that later. How do we manage all of this? Well, planning, yes, we do quite a bit of that now. We've got our vision, which was set by the President. We know what the direction we're meant to be going in, and we've identified the strategy. And against that, we set our plan. The plan is done through strategy days, held by your council. The area chairmen are invited to them. And we devise what it is that we're going to do to continue on that path of rejuvenation. And we set a budget against it each year, so we know what we're going to spend, how much money we need. The management of it, It's done by council. We have our meetings every 2 months or so. We have committees headed up by a council member, each one, that are looking after various themes as part of our plan, delivering the objectives, all supported by the team in Leicester, the senior management team and their staff. And then at our council meetings, we review performance, set against all those objectives. Are we actually achieving what we've set out to do? What's the risk to achieving it? And if there are problems, we adjust it. That may mean that there has to be a change in the spend, just a change in direction. I just want to emphasise, though, that none of this is stuff being generated by the team in Leicester and pushed down onto you. This is generated by your council. It's set against the vision that you voted for. That is what we're driving. So please, it's another one of these myths. Oh, it's all Leicester, they're always doing. No, it's not. It's your council. We own the plan. We are responsible for it being delivered. The Secretary-General and his team are there to deliver that on our behalf. Overriding all of that, though, when your council sits, it has to take into account that whatever we do, it must be in the interests, best interests of the charity. That means that what may affect a branch, an individual, it might not appear to be in your best interests, but it has to be, from our perspective, in the best interests of the charity. So we're interested in the long-term future. And we've got to apply with legislation. And it is changing almost daily. It's a nightmare staying on top of it. But we have to balance that in everything we do against complying with the law. So, will we get everything right all of the time? I'd like to think we can, but no. Realistically, we can't. Will we please everybody? Nope. We've seen that today. But I can assure you, it is not through lack of trying. It's a balancing act that your council has to take in dealing with all of this. But in my view, we're doing a pretty good job. We are rejuvenating your association as you asked us to, and 2016 was a great year for us. Thank you.
John, thank you very much indeed. If our members here today enjoyed that nearly as much as I did standing at the sides, that was really, really good. I'm bloody proud of what you guys are doing. Well done. Thank you. However, we need to get very sniffy and formal again, I'm afraid, because we need to vote to accept the Chairman's annual report. So unless you've lost your handsets, if we can get it primed for that, please. There we go. When the light goes green, please vote to accept the Chairman's report. Very good. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. I think actually when we look back on the records, not just the time that we've taken in voting, but the number of delegates we've had voting on each vote today is the highest we've ever achieved. And again, it's getting us back to where we should be in terms of getting much, much more involvement rather than just that good old steady few that have always been here. It's been a really good morning. You've all done incredibly well. Thank you very much for that. When we leave here now, you can vote. You can hand in your voting handsets. You will not need them again for the rest of the conference. we've done with all the voting. Is everybody happy? We will break. Sorry, if I may, please, we will break now. The Chief of Air Staff and Lady Hillier will join us at about 1 o'clock-ish. They'll have lunch. They'll come in this afternoon. So you're going to get a long break. Please don't forget what I'm about to tell you. Please be back in here, seated and ready to go just before 2 o'clock. We will then have a session with the SecGen, and then the RAF presentation team, then the Chief, and then trophies, and then it's pubs open, game on. So lunch will be served at 12:30, not before. Thank you very much.